Greetings, spear beings, greetings, supreme being, where all the human race are common enemies, death. Welcome on Perfect Society. I'm Ulrich Hoffman, and you are watching the broadcast COVID, not quarantine, no cure. How can COVID not become a global pandemic? So COVID is the new name for coronavirus disease. So that's how they got to that scientific name. So, I talked about it in a previous video I did. I can bring it back. I have covered Hunan Bao Husan in previous broadcasts as well, because many people think it's too much of a coincidence that there was a pandemic exercise event 201 that also covered a coronavirus, and that now we see this happening. Okay, I've started the video. Let's see if I can find the part that I'm looking for. Anyway, it's this video on Perfect Society as well. Only 17 views. New messages, links appearing under YouTube videos, and Hunan Biotech Limited. Can anyone see this? So, anyway, in the video I talked about the site of the World Health Organization. This is who.in/emergencies/diseases/novel-coronavirus-2019, and there we find this picture with the zebra crossing, and basically that reminded me of the movie Resident Evil. We see it in Resident Evil Afterlife and also in another Resident Evil movie. Let's see. Resident Evil Retribution. This is from Resident Evil Retribution. But this zebra crossing has a white line on the side. So it's not exactly the same crossing. Also zebra crossing. So one person is standing on the zebra basically, and she's the only one without an umbrella, and she becomes infected, and then she attacks one of the pedestrians in the movie. And this is from Afterlife. And also we see that the virus makes the lights go out. I don't know how we are supposed to interpret that, but they zoom out of the city, and then from that zebra crossing point basically all the lights go out. So how we are to interpret that basically is another mystery. And this is the whole picture of the page of the World Health Organization. And basically we only see as a banner from here to here basically. So it's the small, perhaps the middle of this picture basically. So this might be Well, it's definitely not the same zebra as the one in the movie. I don't know if this is in Japan or China. Anyway, it's World Health Organization International, I guess. So we can read this. And I've covered the logo of Ruilan Bahusan and also their website, ruiblue.com, and the resemblance of their logo in previous broadcasts. Let's see if I can find it fast. For people who haven't seen it yet, a quick picture. This is the picture of the pandemic event exercise. Event 201 they called that. And there's another picture from some website. Zombie apocalypse. And well, this one may be alright. Remember, raccoon is with double C in reality. City from Resident Evil. Coronavirus is an anagram for raccoon virus. So it would be C coronavirus. If you have to use all the letters in raccoon, because it has 2 C's. I think in the movie as well, but I'm not 100% certain. Anyway, more spooky, corona is an anagram for raccoon, but also coronavirus is an anagram for carnivorous. Many people think it's zoonotic, it spread from animals to humans also, and that's also illustrated by the articles. Let's see if I can find it fast. This one on siasat.com. And also they have pictures of this coronavirus taken through a microscope. So do we now know for sure if it is an antibody-dependent virus or not? They should know that by now. Perhaps somebody knows a link to some scientific article. So I'm not going to assume anything with or without evidence. And whether the virus is engineered, can anybody disprove it? Do they have a way to establish when they have a virus whether it's an engineered virus, man-made, genetically engineered, perhaps to contain elements of several viruses? Or is there no way to prove it? 33 of the 585 environmental samples collected from the Hunan seafood wholesale market were found to contain the nucleic acid of the novel coronavirus, according to the National Institute for Viral Disease Control and Prevention under the China CDC, XINGYI reported. And I've covered 2 other articles that cover the same thing, basically. So one thing I thought, could it have been an accident or contamination at the fish farm were these fish from the sea, or from somewhere else? It brings me to some other thing. Genetic evidence of Middle East respiratory syndrome. Camels in Kenya. No. Connection to genetic evidence of Middle East respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, MERS-CoV, and widespread seroprevalence among camels in Kenya. No, it was about algae, I think. No, this is nothing. Perhaps I read it somewhere else. This is a more scientific approach, I think. researchgate.net. Genetic evidence of Middle East respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, MERS-CoV, and widespread seroprevalence among camels in Kenya. So that's a different type of coronavirus. Anyway, I'll put the link in the description if there is enough space for that. So the question is, are they a biosafety level 4 company? No, but then the question is, could they engineer viruses even if they're not a BSL-4 company? If only biosafety level 4 companies can engineer viruses, and if this would be an engineered virus, which I'm not claiming, I'm not denying it either, without any solid evidence. Anyway, if it would be a designer virus, then if only BSL-4 facilities can produce it, then it would be on this list if this contains all BSL-4 facilities worldwide. And I think there might only be one in China. Wuhan Institute of Virology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Wuhan, Hubei, China, 2015. Wuhan Institute of Virology has existed since 1956 and already hosted BSL-3 laboratories. A BSL-4 facility was completed in 2015 and became the first, only, and visible BSL-4 laboratory in China. Well, I think with these BSL-4 facilities, that the air that they pump out is filtered, so did somebody take out the virus and spread it deliberately, perhaps? In the movie Resident Evil, somebody throws a vial and that contaminates the whole facility, etc. And I think we haven't seen that happen. Don't know if they would cover it up if it did happen. But probably somebody would notice it. So this is from Wiki. Structure of NIAID Integrated Research Facility. And perhaps it's also in this article. Yeah, it's from the Biosafety Level 4 article. And I think that they must implement Biosafety Level 4 or Biosafety Level 3 in relation to this COVID because SARS coronavirus and MERS coronavirus are biosafety level 3. And this is genetically related to SARS coronavirus, I think. The professor said. Let's see. SARS and coronavirus are genetically related. Don't know what article I had on. Anyway, it's not what I want to show, so don't look at it. Only the one I selected, this article, is alright. I haven't reviewed the other one. So I covered it in previous broadcasts. Other interesting news: 7 people tested for coronavirus in Guernsey, 10th of February 2020. And on B&O News, we can track, and I have some other interesting, found some other interesting links for maps and statistics. There are currently 64,171 confirmed cases worldwide, including 1,486 fatalities. So I think the number of fatalities has been going up lately. And the number of confirmed cases is not growing as fast anymore as it was, but it's still going up. Because if it is a designer virus, then it could mutate into something deadlier. And one video I've shown is this one. I'm not going to play the whole video again, but part of it. Ukraine H1N1 mutation. Oracle software core has reverse engineered 1918 virus and predict mutations.
Now, I'm sure all my subscribers are familiar with Dr. A. Truott, the same Dr. Truott that first introduced the world to Joseph Moshe, the Israeli Mossad microbiologist that called into Dr. Truott's show and claimed that the Baxter laboratories were actually planning to intentionally contaminate the swine flu vaccines. Now, I didn't actually come across this article till yesterday, but it was written in August. And in this article, Dr. Truott's telling us about 3 software programs: Daylight, Oracle 8, and Promise. And these programs are used to analyze the sequences of viruses, and then they could predict how that virus is going to mutate in the future. Or they could even take a virus and then be able to go backwards, and using reverse engineering, they could tell how the virus used to be. So I'm going to just read a little bit from this article. Oracle AI not only has the ability to rapidly analyze gene-clade sequencing in viruses and bacteria in mere minutes, it can build a model of a complex new viral structure just as quickly, and can calculate to the minutest detail its possible drift of mutations after the release. This software can not only predict the death toll that the virus would produce, but also the accurate final numbers of its genetic mutations over a given period of time. In short, this software can control a complex genocide agenda in the form of an engineered worldwide viral pandemic from beginning to end, alpha to omega. Evidence suggests that this agenda was indeed systematically set in motion in March 2009. Now, it's important to realize that Oracle AI is really only the backbone behind this database and server that's used for predicting the future mutations, the sequences from hypothetical and real viruses that are in the system. Oracle needs this software called Daylight in order to really do its work on this. And here's a press release from the Daylight company. Dr. Truott references it in his article. I double checked it to see if it's real. This is on the Chemical Information Network. This press release is from July 14th, 2000. So it's easy to see this technology has been available for quite some time. Now I'll read the press release. Daylight Chemical Information Systems Inc. today introduces a new addition to the array of Daylight software products, Descartes, an application using the unique extensibility features of Oracle 8i, designed to fully integrate the molecular structures and reactions in the Oracle 8i database server environment. Use of the Descartes with Oracle 8i server unlocks access.
So people can check the video. It's on hollabackseattle. I put a link in the description, but the main point is already made basically. So they can predict the mutations, all possible mutations. And this was doable in 2009. This video was uploaded, but this talks about the year 2000. As we can see on the screen in the video. Here, USA, July 14, 2000. So it's daylight and promise. I'm not going to go deeper into that now. China Communist Party orders 1 million body bags from outside country, shifts multiple factories to body bag production. I've also seen they were welding doors of homes shut so that people couldn't get out anymore. I don't know if this is true, but I've seen a couple of videos, at least 2 I think. But it was weird because they had windows that they can easily get through, I think. So... And how are these people gonna get food when the supermarkets are empty? So if it's already in your country, now is the time to store food and water, a water filter perhaps. And put stuff in your prepper bag. People can also disinfect items from China because it stays alive longer on surfaces than they first thought. So it might stay alive on surfaces for a month or so. 28 days they claim. So if you're getting products from China, it's an idea to disinfect them with chlorine, bleach, or well, of course not pure, and it would burn your hands and stuff, so it's very dangerous, bleach. But of course many people clean their houses, use tons of bleach yearly. US military prepping for coronavirus pandemic. It was the previous one. Well, body bags are not gonna help, I think. Yeah, they are gonna help. They have to transport the body for cremation or burial, it depends. And if they're buried, then I guess they also put some kind of disinfecting agent. In there. In the Amadeus movie I saw some kind of chalk or something was thrown in. US military prepping for coronavirus pandemic. So it's more important to prevent them from infecting other people so they don't end up dead like the people being buried. But many people would rather be buried. I think that I already said it in this broadcast. So let's move on. US Northern Command is executing plans to prepare for a potential pandemic of the novel coronavirus, now called COVID-19, according to Navy and Marine Corps service-wide messages issued this week. already did this video, how the NWO global coronavirus epidemic martial law plan unfolds in phases. Will coronavirus spread? How Senator Tom Cotton thinks coronavirus is a bioweapon. It was covered by NBC or ABC, CNN, perhaps also by the mainstream media, and about a retracted paper. White House asks scientists to investigate whether 2019 nCoV was bioengineered, and Hunan and vaccine. And coronavirus test kit unreliable. I changed the title from test kits into test kit because it's only about one particular type of test kits. People that have the disease test positive only 30 to 50% of the time. So the test kit that I covered the article of in this video is highly unreliable. They're not usable, you could argue. But okay, that's relating to what we just saw, the military basically. And for that picture, I used the 3D Windows program basically, 3D Paint. And I did type two eyes basically, but they're overlapping, so I made the second Lee red, and it's sort of overlapping. But perhaps that's even better. So, thanks. The point was I typed it correctly, and it doesn't show the text properly, and it also sometimes happens with a font, and the letter R is not visible when I make the text 3D. But other than that, I use the Windows program regularly for 3D text on the videos. Perhaps there is something better to work with fonts and stuff. Should I read this whole article? There's so many others. So I think body bags are a good idea. Only reliable tests are a good idea. And perhaps there are other test types that can be done. I think it would have to be a blood test, but I'm not a doctor. But my theory about it is perhaps a blood test is more accurate than a swab test, especially if it's not affecting the respiratory system yet. If it's zoonotic and they've eaten something, it might be in their bloodstream but not in their lungs or in their saliva, etc. Anyway, it's just highly theoretical. So who knows, perhaps the opposite is true. Anyway, US military prepping for coronavirus pandemic. Okay, that's a pretty long article as well. But here we see the Navy and Marine Corps messages issued Tuesday and Wednesday respectively reference an executive order directing U.S. Northern Command to implement the Department of Defense Global Campaign Plan for Pandemic Influenza and Infectious Diseases 3551-13. The briefing 7th February 2020 on militarytimes.com. Then a tweet on Twitter, of course. Fogstar at FOW reports Shanghai about to join the 400 million in quarantine. This is huge, only Beijing next and you will have the entire country on lockdown. This will hurt the globe as much as China. Well, hopefully they can contain it in China. They will find a cure for the virus. And if this is airborne, then I'm afraid they won't contain it, basically. So that's also suggested by the title of the video. Confirmed transmission routes of the novel coronavirus include direct transmission, contact transmission, and aerosol transmission, a Shanghai official said on Saturday. We can see pictures of 2019 nCoV, so that means they should test whether it's zoonotic and whether it's antibody dependent, especially, and also how airborne it is. If it can move via rainwater, via clouds, then it can move all over the globe, even if everybody would be locked down in their home, etc. Then you'd have to have filters on every house so that the virus can't get out. So that 33 of these 585 environmental samples collected from the Wuhan seafood wholesale market were found to contain the nucleic acid of the novel coronavirus, indicates that it could have originated from there, and then people that were infected may have spread it to other people on the fish market or wherever they were. So I advise people not to eat raw fish, at least get it baked, so that it becomes, so that inside the middle of the fish or cadaver becomes at least 80 degrees Celsius. Hazmat suits on, everybody. Joke. So I've covered colloidal silver in previous broadcasts. Its effectiveness. So it neutralizes the SARS coronavirus. And they have tables that emit silver ions, a polymer. More information on thesilveredge.com, I think, and on purecolloids.co.uk. So they should test if that is effective, basically, but they can't make trillions of dollars from colloidal silver, so perhaps they see it as an enemy of the industry and the medical cartel. Especially the people that want to reduce the global population, of course, which is clear from their book quotes, $1 Million Georgia Guidestones. Stop population reduction, stop state-sponsored terrorism, that's the idea. To create a perfect society in which we all will live happily eternally, possible because everything is energy, so never give up on that one. Survival is all. So people should also check rainwater, collect rainwater and see if the virus is in there. Also in China, but worldwide in all countries. And if there's a website where the results are published daily, please let me know in the comments. But I wonder why they wouldn't check that. It makes sense, I think. After also testing tap water, how can this not become a global pandemic? Well, either they have to find a cure or a way to contain it, to quarantine everybody. So they may have planned home quarantine, so if it's already in your country, again, be prepared. Do electronic radiation meters have an EMP protective safety? Would they last when exposed to an EMP? I think weapons and stuff didn't answer that question, but he answered another of my questions. The Fourth Empire.blogspot.com, Jane Burgermeister's website, has an article by the title How the NWO Global Epidemic Martial Law Plan Unfolds in Phases and Which Phase We Have Now Reached. Another idea I have is perhaps the virus has a mortal oscillatory rate frequency of Dr. Rife, natural frequency in English, in Dutch the Eigenfrequenz in German. So in the Netherlands we use the German term, it's also taught in physics in school. These bridges also have their own natural frequency, and when they build one they have to make calculations so that the bridge doesn't disintegrate. I don't know the details, but I'm just trying to think of ways to prevent a global pandemic and mandatory vaccination at gunpoint. So who benefits? We can all wonder about that one. Is WHO an umbrella organization, or could the umbrella logo be code for WHO or CDC or the government as a whole or whatever? People can call me if they want to make a broadcast. Recently I did a broadcast with let's go to my website. With Ian Abram Clark, sinologist. So a person who knows more about China, basically. That was also interesting because he's a live vegetarian caller, basically, at that moment. Anyway, I first have to review these streams. So after the whole stream is finished, then I'm gonna check if there's anything in violation of the YouTube user policy, and if not, then I can put it on my channel. So that's Prologic999 on Skype, if people want to do a broadcast. Did I read the second Twitter remark? Civilians from #Hong Kong Kowloon East protested government decision to set up a #coronavirus clinic in this densely populated area. Instead of communication, government sent hundreds of #police storming the district, threatening the press and arresting residents. While many elderly and others want medical help, and the hospitals are crowded. I've seen images also of people with an IV, and whatever works best, perhaps antiviral medicine. I've covered combination of HIV drugs with Tamiflu, flushing with Tamiflu. But if it has a kill rate of only 2% and also people that don't show symptoms can be carriers, then it's hard to determine what is effective and what is not effective, perhaps. Antiviral activities of honey, royal jelly and Acyclovir against HSV1. The herpes simplex virus type 1. Except this is on woundsresearch.com. So we benefit from killing the virus, declaring war on COVID, if they haven't done so already. Our common enemy is death, our common enemy is the virus. And if we all don't want to be injected at gunpoint, then we have to prevent it from spreading further in China and prevent it from becoming a global pandemic. That's the other picture, this one. That's a model of how it could develop, basically. So as long as these flights are not blocked. Rothschild also had a thing about ending the travel ban. So are they behind this as well, is the question. The fact is that the planes are still flying, I think. So they haven't locked down the Chinese planes. And the tests, at least the test that I covered, is too unreliable. So then the question becomes, are there any reliable tests? And how reliable are they? Or do they do it deliberately to reduce the global population? Like, we have to pretend test kits are alright to reduce the global population. Of course, Margaret Chan used to be the Director General, is the official title of the World Health Organization. And now it's Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Perhaps we should read this then. Well, perhaps I can get some other text-to-speech engine, but I like Balabolka. And perhaps the other text-to-speech engine would have the same problem. Perhaps it has to do with the audio or something. Anyway, I'm restarting it now so that we can read about the 8th Director General of the World Health Organization. And I've seen live videos, I also wrote in the chat. But I think those are some excellent points, getting rainwater analyzed and checking first if it's an antibody-dependent virus or not. because otherwise it's just a matter of getting our antibodies up, and 98% of the people that survived had enough antibodies to survive. So I think that's a crucial question and that they should know by now. And perhaps somebody does know, but I haven't found it online. So if you know a link, or if you know a scientific report about antibody dependence of the coronavirus, please let us know. I could check SARS and MERS, if those are antibody dependent. Ebola definitely is. There may be 2 strains, one of them definitely is. Perhaps the Ebola Lassa Tegmira Chimera. But let's read the text.
Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Jez, born March 3, 1965 1, is an Ethiopian politician, academic, who has been Director General of the World Health Organization since 2017. He served in the government of Ethiopia as Minister of Health from 2005 to 2012 too, and as Minister of Foreign Affairs from 2012 to 2016. 3. Tedros joined the Ministry of Health in 1986, after graduating from the University of Asmara. 4. An internationally recognized malaria researcher. 4. As Minister of Health, Tedros received praise for a number of innovative and system-wide health reforms that substantially improved access to health services and key outcomes. 5. Amongst them were hiring and training roughly 40,000 female health extension workers, cutting infant mortality from 123 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2006 to 88 in 2011, and increasing the hiring of health cadres including medical doctors and midwives. 6. In July 2009, he was elected board chair of the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria for a 2-year term. 7. Tedros was elected as Director General of the World Health Organization by the World Health Assembly on May 23, 2017. 389. He took office for a 5-year term on July 1, 2017.
Does anybody know where to place Tedros Adhanom qua secret societies? I haven't been able to find out whether he's just a Freemason, or perhaps Committee of 300, Bilderberg. Guess he's not a Jesuit. What have you, all these secret societies. CFR, Tulsi Gabbard, CFR. Knight of Malta, perhaps. Bruce Willis, perhaps. I don't know. So if anybody has more information about the secret background of Tedros Adhanom, please leave a comment or Skype Prologic999. Anyway, he is officially the Director General of the World Health Organization since 2017 already. I didn't even know that, so I thought it was still Margaret Chan. Is the Umbrella Corporation logo oddly similar to a Wuhan Biotech Labs? The eerie coincidence wasn't too eerie on second glance. And if they remove the picture now or something, all pictures, let's turn off for this site the 360.blog. So Wuilan Baohusan also means umbrella according to sources online, and it seems to me like it's a black op or a psyop, perhaps to make it look like it's from China, though others may have more to do with this. So it's a sort of misdirection, part of a bigger global pandemic program, perhaps. But that's highly theoretical, so that's pure conspiracy theory. And I'm a conspiracy factist, so that's why I indicate it. I've covered 10 conspiracy facts in a video, and also 10 mainstream media blackout subjects, etc. So at this point I'm not accusing anyone. It first has to be established somehow whether it's a bioweapon or not, and if they cannot establish that, then we'll never know. In theory. Biosafety level 4, well, we can read more. I've already covered this in a previous broadcast, I remember, with the picture also, so that's not gonna happen in this one. Resident Evil film series. So we could read this, or I think the first one tells the whole story, but perhaps it's a bit too much. Anyway, some people think Resident Evil is real, and it has elements of what will happen in reality. It may be predictive programming, and so the question was, could a designer virus also be created in a facility that's not biosafety level 4, like the one in Wuhan? Is it possible that the virus came out of the facility somehow, or is that totally impossible? Has anybody at the facility died or become sick? Or is all personnel accounted for? I think these things should be checked. Also because the facility may have the antidote. If it's a bioweapons lab or whatever. Okay. First I go through the other things to see what's most important or most fun, most entertaining to read. World Health Organization. Well, that's also interesting to read, just basic factual stuff. This can be a little lower. So I did make a compressor thing for this. Check 1, 2. Filters. Compressor as limiter. These are the settings. I should also make a minimum level thing. And I've downloaded the video, so I won't bother you all with that. I'll do it some other time. World Health Organization. Oh yeah. Let's read it. Read it and weep.
The World Health Organization, WHO, is a specialized agency of the United Nations that is concerned with world public health. It was established on April 7, 1948, and is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. The WHO is a member of the United Nations Development Group. Its predecessor, the Health Organization, was an agency of the League of Nations. The WHO Constitution was signed by 61 countries, all 51 member countries and 10 others, on July 22, 1946, with the first meeting of the World Health Assembly concluding on July 24, 1948. It incorporated the Office International Hygiene Public and the League of Nations Health Organization. Since its establishment, it has played a leading role in the eradication of smallpox. Its current priorities include communicable diseases, in particular HIV/AIDS, Ebola, malaria and tuberculosis, the mitigation of the effects of non-communicable diseases such as sexual and reproductive health, development, and aging, nutrition, food security and healthy eating, occupational health, substance abuse, and driving the development of reporting, publications, and networking. The WHO is responsible for the World Health Report, the Worldwide World Health Survey, and World Health Day. The current Director General of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom, served as Ethiopian Health Minister from 2005 to 2012 and as Ethiopian Foreign Minister from 2012 to 2016. Adhanom started his 5-year term on July 1, 2017.
So on the World Health Organization website we can read US 675 million needed for new coronavirus preparedness and response global plan. 5th of February, 6th of February, WHO to accelerate research and innovation for new coronavirus. 7th of February, online training as a weapon to fight the new coronavirus. And 12th of February 2020, world experts and funders set priorities for COVID-19 research. The natural history of the virus, its transmission and diagnosis, animal and environmental research on the origin of the virus, including management measures at the human-animal interface. Well, I'm not so interested in the origin, but rather whether it's zoonotic, whether it spreads via animals. So the question is that already proven by that article that we just read about 33 of the 585 environmental samples collected from the market were found to contain nucleic acid of the novel coronavirus. Or not? Is it not proven by it? I'm not a scientist, so... But how could that acid end up in there? Epidemiological studies, clinical characterization and management of disease caused by the virus, infection prevention and control, including best ways to protect healthcare workers. I've been using colloidal silver for years, but if they think using colloidal silver is a bad idea, then at least use a mask with an N95 filter, not the little surgical masks that have no filter, that are not gas masks, and also wear goggles. There's for $20 people can buy a gas mask on eBay with goggles. So that's basically a full face mask practically, which may be best for healthcare workers. Hazmat suit. Best is of course compressed air, but it only lasts for a while. So then a filter can come in handy. I don't know if it spread nosocomially in and through hospitals, but if they're trying to reduce the global population, then that could be the function of these hospitals. Perhaps they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly what it will mutate into. As explained in the video about Oracle, Daylight Promise, and other software program earlier on in this video. Research and development for candidate therapeutic and vaccines, ethical considerations for research, and integration of social sciences into the outbreak response. The CDC leadership. Robert R. Redfield, medical doctor, is the 18th director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and administrator of the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Again, I don't know if he has any connections to secret societies, etc. Another interesting article, perhaps. What was this? ESP, Socio-Political Illuminati, 44. So is Illuminati a Jesuit or Freemasonic front? Adam Weishaupt was also a Mason. According to sources online, though you could argue we can't believe anything we read in the history books, because history is written by the victor. So there has to be some evidence to back it up, basically. So then I think it's best to study the movie and binonews.com. Don't know if there's any better source, and I can't put all these links in the comments, but we have this one. Let's browse through them all. Well, it takes a while to load this one. Johns Hopkins, without having to log in. So perhaps I'll put that link in the comments. Takes a while to load the map. Lots of people are showing this map in their live stream. Also the global population counter on it. This one's also pretty good. So then you can see for every province a graphic that shows the confirmed cases, recovered, and deaths. Which is kind of hidden on the previous one as well. So let's go to the next one. nCoV trigger. I thought this was pretty clean. It also loads pretty fast. And then people can hover the mouse pointer over the circle. 1,376 deaths, 1,367. Japan, 1 death as well. So I don't know if there's any wind that it travels in that direction. Check global wind direction. So the question is also, how was it spread from person to person, or from animals, seafood perhaps, to people, or pigs perhaps, like in the Event 201 pandemic exercise, where they also covered this coronavirus. Major coincidence, because there are so many viruses out there. Oh yeah, let's see if Jane Burgermeister reports anything new. I've already covered this one. That's part 2, I think. So where is part 1? Here it says part 2. Perhaps I covered part 1 in a previous broadcast as well. I'm not sure. Anyway, I thought I would get another map. This is on maphub.net. I could do a video just about these maps basically, because I can get it in the description with all these other links. Flu and Ebola map. It's healthmap.org. That's more or less the official map, I think. How many people use Johns Hopkins? Then people have to click here and here for coronavirus surveillance. It takes a while. Oh, looks more red now on the map. February 13th, 2020, 116 new deaths in Hubei province. Swissinfo.ch. So let's go to the movie. Perhaps I'll read the other article as well.
Resident Evil is an action horror science fiction film series loosely based on the Capcom survival horror video game series of the same name. German studio Constantin Film bought the rights to adapt the series to film in January 1997. In 2001, Screen Gems acquired distribution rights and hired Paul W. S. Anderson as writer and director for Resident Evil, 2002. Anderson continued as writer and producer for Resident Evil, Apocalypse, 2004, and Resident Evil, Extinction, 2007, and returned as the director for Resident Evil, Afterlife, 2010, Resident Evil, Retribution, 2012, and Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, 2016. The films follow Alice, Milla Jovovich, a character created for the films, who is a former security specialist and covert operative who battles the Umbrella Corporation, whose bioweapons have triggered a zombie apocalypse. Characters from the games also appear, including Jill Valentine, Carlos Oliveira, Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Barry Burton, Leon S. Kennedy, Ada Wong, and primary antagonists Albert Wesker, the head of Umbrella Corporation, and James Marcus, the company's top virologist. The Resident Evil film series is the highest-grossing film series based on a video game, having grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide. Resident Evil. Resident Evil. Resident Evil, 2002, May. Resident Evil, 2002, main article, Resident Evil, film. Actress Milla Jovovich portrays Alice in the film series. Countries in which the Resident Evil film series was filmed in January 1997. Constantin Film acquired the film rights to the Resident Evil franchise with Alan B. McElroy possibly writing the script. 2. By 2001, Columbia TriStar was in final negotiations to acquire North American distribution rights to Resident Evil and budgeted the movie at $40 million. 3. George A. Romero was hired by Sony Pictures and Capcom to direct and write Resident Evil. His script was later rejected and he was ultimately dropped. 4-5. While Romero's script was supported by a number of people from Capcom and Constantin, it was rejected by Constantin producer Bernd Heikinger. 6. As well as Capcom producer Yoshiki Okamoto, who stated that Romero's script wasn't good, so Romero was fired. 7. Paul W. S. Anderson was then hired by Sony Pictures to write a screenplay, and in late 2000, Anderson was announced as director and writer. 8. Anderson stated the film would not include any tie-ins with the video game series as underperforming movie tie-ins are too common, and Resident Evil, of all games, deserved a good celluloid representation. 9. In 2001, Milla Jovovich was cast as Alice, the protagonist of the film. 10. In the film, the Umbrella Corporation operates a top-secret genetic research facility named The Hive. Located deep beneath Raccoon City, the Hive has been sealed by the Red Queen, the eye that controls the hive, due to the release of the T-virus into the facility. The Red Queen kills every living thing in the facility to ensure that the T-virus doesn't reach the surface, but the T-virus reanimates them, transforming the humans into ravenous zombies and the animals into highly aggressive mutants. Alice, Mila Jovovich, was once a security operative working for the corporation until her memory was wiped by the Red Queen's nerve gas. As the team attempts to escape the hive, an Umbrella test subject, a huge monster called the Licker, escapes and pursues the team onto a train, which they use to leave the hive. During this pursuit, 2 members of the group are killed, leaving only Alice and Matt. However, Matt obtains a deeply scratched arm from the Licker in the start of their attack. When Alice and Matt reach the surface, Matt and Alice are separated and taken by an Umbrella hazmat unit, where Matt eventually transforms into Nemesis. However, this isn't known until Resident Evil, Apocalypse. Alice awakens from a coma to a ravaged Raccoon City after a T-virus outbreak. Resident Evil, Apocalypse, 2004, main article, Resident Evil, Apocalypse. The sequel to the first film began production in 2003 after the success of the first film. 11. Anderson returned as the writer but, due to his work on Alien vs. Predator, he did not direct the film. Alexander Witt took over the director's role.
I think that Mila Jovovich played very well in Resident Evil. Mila makes me think of Brit Mila, the circumcision. Many people are against circumcision, mutilating children. They should be allowed to decide for themselves. When they're 18, they have a right to physical integrity. And evolution formed people's foreskin for a reason, but that's another broadcast, of course. So let's continue reading.
In the film, the viral outbreak reaches the surface, and in an effort to contain the infection, Major Timothy Kane seals all exits to and from Raccoon City. Among the people trapped in the city are Jill Valentine and her partner Peyton Wells. After Alice awakens from her coma, she rescues Jill and Peyton from a group of liquor monsters who escape the hive. They are then contacted by Dr. Charles Ashford, who claims to know of an evacuation point in the city in exchange for the rescue of his daughter Angela Ashford, who is trapped in Raccoon City. The group knows that Umbrella plans to incinerate Raccoon City to get rid of the T-virus. On their way to rescue Angela, Nemesis attacks the team after it is commanded by Kane to kill all STARS members. After Angela's rescue, they then make their way to the evacuation helicopter with Carlos Oliveira, who has been dropped into Raccoon City and abandoned by Umbrella. After Alice's confrontation with Kane and Nemesis, which leaves the latter two dead, the team flies away from Raccoon City as it is being sanitized by a nuclear bomb. The helicopter crashes in the Arklay Mountains. A wounded Alice is the only person found by an Umbrella search team. She is taken to the Detroit Umbrella Research Station. When Alice awakens, she escapes the facility and displays extraordinary powers. She is then driven away by Jill and Carlos, who are disguised as Umbrella employees. As they drive away, the Umbrella logo flashes in Alice's eyes and Isaac states program Alice activated. Resident Evil, Extinction, 2007, main article, Resident Evil, Extinction. In November 2005, Screen Gems gained the rights for the third installment in the franchise, which was then subtitled Extinction. 12. Anderson returned as a writer and filming took place in Mexico. Russell Mulcahy was the director. The film was released on September 21, 2007. 13. In the film, the world has been consumed by the T-virus and Umbrella Corporation develops clones of Alice in the hope of finding one who displays Alice's powers. Elsewhere, Claire Redfield leads a convoy of survivors across the Nevada desert, including Raccoon City survivors Carlos Oliveira and L.J. Wayne. Alice roams the country in search of survivors. After failing to find living people, she comes into contact with Redfield's convoy, after which she rescues them from a mob of attacking crows using her special telekinetic powers. The convoy, along with Alice, heads to Las Vegas to gather supplies so that they can reach Alaska in an effort to get to a place called Arcadia, which is thought to be a safe haven. While there, they are ambushed by a group of Umbrella Corporation's new super zombies created by Dr. Alexander Isaacs, which kill most of the convoy. L.J. was bitten before, but he hides his infection from the rest of the group. He then transforms and bites Oliveira, amidst the ambush. Isaacs himself is bitten, and in an effort to cure himself he injects himself with large doses of the antivirus, which causes him to transform into a tyrant, a towering creature with regenerative ability and psychic powers similar to Alice's. Alice, Claire and Carlos then locate a helicopter in Umbrella Base and plan to use it for extraction of the survivors to Alaska. Oliveira makes his last stand by sacrificing himself and plowing his truck into a horde of zombies, giving the rest some time to load the survivors into the helicopter. Claire and the remaining survivors head towards Alaska, while Alice stays behind to confront Isaacs. While searching the facility for Isaacs, she discovers that she was cloned. After Alice defeats Isaacs, she contacts Umbrella and warns them that she is coming for them and that she will be bringing friends with her to fight them. Resident Evil, Afterlife, 2010 main article, Resident Evil, Afterlife. Before the third installment had been released, Constantin prepared to release a fourth entry. 14. The film was set in Japan and filmed in 3D with the Fusion camera system developed by James Cameron and Vince Pace for the 2009 film Avatar. 15. The film was written and directed by Paul W. S. Anderson. Set after the events of Extinction, Alice and her clones attack the Umbrella headquarters in Tokyo. Wesker escapes and destroys the facility, killing the clones. Wesker is confronted by Alice aboard his helicopter. He injects Alice with a serum that removes her superhuman abilities. The helicopter crashes, and only Alice is seen emerging from the rubble. After 6 months of a failed aerial search for other survivors, Alice heads toward the supposed location of Arcadia. She lands on an airfield in Alaska, where she finds Claire in a different state. Claire has an umbrella controlling device attached to her chest and her memory has been wiped. Claire and Alice fly to Los Angeles, where they stumble on a prison wherein they meet Luther West and Chris Redfield, Claire's brother. The survivors explain that Arcadia is really a tanker off the coast that has been broadcasting a looped message and is picking up survivors. During an attempted escape, Alice, Claire and Chris are the only ones to emerge and they reach the tanker only to find it abandoned. Claire's memory begins to return when she remembers umbrella workers attacking her group of survivors and moving them to the tanker. They learn that the ship is an umbrella research facility, which is conducting experiments on the survivors. The three then meet Wesker, who has been granted superhuman abilities due to the T-virus. After the fight, Alice transmits a message to survivors calling them to the tanker and hopes to create a new and true safe haven. As the film closes, a fleet of Umbrella Corporation gunships led by Valentine prepares to lead an assault on the survivors. Resident Evil, Retribution, 2012, main article, Resident Evil, Retribution written and directed by Anderson. Retribution was planned to be filmed back-to-back with a sixth installment, but Anderson decided to focus on the fifth film. 16. Filming took place in Toronto, Ontario from mid-October to December 23, 2011. 17. Colin Salmon, who played Juan, and Michelle Rodriguez, who played Reno Campo in the first film, returned. 1819, Odette Fair, who portrayed Carlos Oliveira in the second and third film, also returned. 3 characters from the video games made their debut in the film series: Johann Ribes Leon S. Kennedy, Kevin Durand as Barry Burton, and Li Bingbing as Ada Wong. 2021-22-23, It was released internationally on September 14, 2012. 17. In the film, Alice awakens in an Umbrella base where she is interrogated by Valentine. During a power failure orchestrated by Ada Wong, Alice escapes from her cell and encounters her. Wong explains that Wesker plans to aid Alice's escape and battle the base's supercomputer Red Queen, in order to save what's left of mankind. Wesker has organized a team of freelance operatives to infiltrate the base and help Alice and Ada escape, including Leon S. Kennedy, Barry Burton, and Luther West. Along the way, Alice finds a clone of a girl named Becky. They also face clone versions of Carlos Oliveira, 1, and Reno Campo, who are all under the direction of Valentine. After Alice meets up with the rescue team, Valentine's soldiers catch up to them, resulting in a shootout that kills Burton, Oliveira and 1, Alice, West, Kennedy, and Becky reach the surface and are met by a submarine, from which Valentine, the clone Rain, and a captured Ada emerge. With new orders from the Red Queen to kill Alice, Valentine battles Alice while Rain fights Kennedy and West. Alice manages to remove the Scarab device from Valentine, returning her back to normal. Alice joins Kennedy in defeating Rain. Alice, Ada, Becky, Leon, and Valentine travel to Wesker's base. Wesker injects Alice with a T-virus, returning her former superhuman powers in order to enact his plan, then tells her that she is responsible for saving the remaining humans from extinction. 24. Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, 2016, main article, Resident.
I don't know if I should read this because I have watched all the Resident Evil movies except for Final Chapter again. But I have seen it before. So, go ahead.
Evil, The Final Chapter. Anderson wrote and directed the sixth and final film in the series, subtitled The Final Chapter, which was filmed in 2D and was post-converted to stereoscopic 3D. 25, 26, 27, Mila Jovovich reprised her role as Alice, with only Sean Roberts, Ian Glenn and Ollie Larder returning from previous entries as Albert Wesker, Dr. Isaacs and Claire Redfield, respectively. Continuing from the last film, Anderson expressed his desire for the final film to come full circle, bringing back characters, themes and the environment of the Hive from the first movie. 25. Filming was set to begin in South Africa in August 2014 but was delayed to the summer of 2015 due to Jovovich's pregnancy. Principal photography commenced on September 18, 2015 in South Africa. 27. Picking up 3 weeks after the events in Resident Evil, Retribution, humanity is on its last legs after Alice is betrayed by Wesker in Washington, D.C. Alice encounters the Red Queen, who tells her that she must return to where the nightmare began, Raccoon City, where the Umbrella Corporation has developed an airborne antivirus which will kill every organism infected by the T-virus. In a race against time, Alice is captured by Dr. Isaacs, long thought to be dead, who reveals that the previous incarnation was a clone. Alice escapes and arrives first in Raccoon City, where she joins forces with Claire Redfield. After holding off Dr. Isaacs' undead army, Alice, Claire and a team of survivors make their way towards the Hive. They again encounter the Red Queen, who tells them the origins of the T-virus. It was created by James Marcus, the founder of the Umbrella Corporation, to save his daughter, Alicia, from an ailment that caused her to age rapidly. James was betrayed by his business partner, Dr. Isaacs, and killed by Albert Wesker. Dr. Isaacs and the board of the Umbrella Corporation then intended to release the T-virus on purpose in order to cleanse the world, save the rich and powerful with cryogenics in the Hive, and later rebuild it as they desire. After confronting Wesker and the real Dr. Isaacs at the bottom of the Hive, Alice also learns her own true nature. She is a clone of the still living Alicia Marcus, who was unable to live a normal life due to her condition. Dr. Isaacs' clone brought the army of undead towards Alice and the real Dr. Isaacs. Dr. Isaacs' clone could not believe that he was a clone and stabbed the real Dr. Isaacs to death. Alice then releases the antivirus, eliminating all infected by the T virus. Alice survives, and gains the memories of Alicia Marcus as a reward in order to reclaim the childhood she never had. The series ends with Alice riding a motorcycle to New York City and places unknown while being chased by huge flying bowls, bioorganic weapons, stating that her job isn't finished yet and that it will take several years for the antivirus to circle the globe. The film was released on December 23, 2016 in Tokyo and on January 27, 2017 in North America. 282930. Reboot in May 2017, Konstantin chairman Martin Moskowitz said that a reboot of the film series was in development. 31. In the same month, it was announced that James Wan would produce the reboot with a script by Greg Russo. 32. In December 2018, Johannes Roberts was hired as writer/director. 33. And Wan left the project for Mortal Kombat reboot. 34. In August 2019, Roberts told Screen Rant that the reboot would be super scary and more faithful to the games. 35. Cast and crew. Principal cast. Further information, list of Resident Evil film characters.
So I think I cannot play part of the movie because of copyright infringement, but when you watch the movie, then you'll see that zebra crossing basically forms a sort of, perhaps there are 4 or 6 crossings, so that sort of forms the center of the outbreak, and then the lights also go out. I still don't know how to explain that, but the idea is that the zombies attack the people, and it causes power outages, that water somehow comes into play, perhaps. But it's just a movie, perhaps it's just for fun, so people understand it's not real. Or perhaps somebody can explain how that works. The zombies take over, they all become contaminated with rabies-based vaccine or whatever, and then the joke is that instead of undead, rabies has a 100% kill rate, so they become dead basically. That's the idea, reducing the global population, I guess. If I just theorize about a worst case scenario. But I think you could argue it's not even theory, that when they have not contained it, so people can travel around, you can't even see if they're carrying the virus, and they have no cure yet, no vaccine, no cure. How can it not become a global pandemic? And then the question is also, do they have enough of that possible cure that was covered? The official cure, basically, in my previous broadcasts. See if I can find a picture. Tamiflu with the AIDS medicine. Oh yeah, Caletra. So I've covered that article in the previous broadcast, or the one before, I think, with the links in the description, so people can check it out on my channel. So this is I programmed to laugh when they modify my brainwave to let me make speech errors with a self-hypnosis. I wanted to say this is it, the end of the broadcast, 4:22 at night. Still not snake fighting. It's Underworld song. I might play that. And after they removed their logo with the "Don't Tread on Me," the yellow logo with the snake and everything, after I had bought my hoodie, they removed that logo, basically. This was the point I wanted to make. Don't know if it's defense or what was it? Navy, perhaps? Or just the Department of Defense, that's possible as well. Almost finished my joint. But cannabis can also be eaten, and THC, the active ingredient, also kills tumors by blocking VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, a protein needed by tumors to sprout. They cannot sprout without VEGF. According to the Complutense University study. But it's also a miracle drug for many other diseases, so cannabis must be legalized. It's illegal to block a working cure from the public. There's jurisprudence about it. And people can also look at the bright side, at what is going well. I'm not gonna... Well, perhaps I should look at DJ Gameco quote. Let's put it on this one, because that's a pretty good broadcast I did. So please like, I need your likes. And thank you all to all who subscribe, thank you. I think it's vital for our timeline, so I'm really not doing this for the money. I'm really doing it to create a better timeline, to create a perfect society and save the maximum number of human lives. That's how we should program ourselves, so that we can also expect others to help us when we're in need. I was gonna search the DJ game and then search. It's in another article. DJ game. Perhaps it's written without a space. Probably. I'll find it, I found the previous time. If a nation or state fully legalizes cannabis for adults 21 plus, they hurt the black market and will earn 85% more in tax revenue as compared to nations or states with only medical marijuana programs. Real DJ Gamecock quote, another one. USA has under 5% of the world's population, but nearly 25% of all incarcerated people! Our failed war on drugs and for-profit prison system are main reasons why USA has #1 highest rate of jailed adults. Luxembourg has successfully become the first European country to fully legalize recreational marijuana, and Colombia in South America plans to legalize soon and prepare to export cannabis worldwide. Coffee is actually more dangerous than cannabis. Sadly, a few people die each year after a bad reaction from drinking coffee or taking caffeine supplements. Cannabis has never killed anybody ever, and is not physically addictive, like, for example, heroin-derived prescription drugs, chemical cancer-causing prescription drugs, For example, you have codeine and morphine used in hospitals and other morphine-based drugs basically that get people hooked that come in the form of a little pill. Morphine. It's also a Michael Jackson song that people can watch on YouTube. Anyway, I'm not going to start about Dr. Harold F. Shipman again. There's also a movie about the doctor, or the man, it depends on how you look at it. He's dead now anyway. So it was a doctor who killed over 200 of his patients supposedly, and reminds me, stay hydrated. People can boil water if they want to be absolutely certain that there's no coronavirus in it. And it's good to filter tap water. On one of my websites people can see pictures of these water filters, even in the Netherlands. And they become a brown color basically, like brown water. When you look at a lake in the Netherlands, then usually the water is brown. Also the seawater can be rather brown. May also depend on the tide and things like that. Any other important points? Beat coronavirus, keep warm. Some people also suggest the sauna, but I doubt if that could kill the virus. Take foods with vitamin C like kiwi. Wash hands, especially washing hands before touching eating food. Also before touching your face, they claim, but I think touching your face, that's not the same as rubbing in your eye or putting your finger in your mouth. It might be sort of revived when it comes in contact with water, so when in infected areas, wear goggles and use a gas mask when going outside, and perhaps an air ionizer with a filter, so an air cleaner with an ionizer is a good idea as well. I think that fumes of the burned bodies, smoke, cannot contain the virus. That's my theory, that when it's burned it's completely dead. There are heat-resistant viruses, but I doubt if this is a heat-resistant virus. But of course I'm not sure and I'm not a doctor. So when people have serious symptoms and natural cures don't help, visit a doctor or a GP, general practitioner, a physician, a professional who has learned how to cure people from thousands of diseases. And the best way is to I want to say it right, so I'm first thinking for a while. Tea tree, menthol, etc., chamomile and other detox teas, colloidal silver. Well, the best way is to treat the cause rather than fight the symptoms. That was the thing I was trying to recall, but I'm also rolling at the moment. So my advice is, if people have to smoke, never smoke tobacco on zich. The tobacco has to be additive free. In the Netherlands you have Pueblo and American Spirit. Don't know if there are other brands that are additive free. But this is in no way a commercial, so if you don't smoke, never start smoking. And however, I also did a broadcast about the possible health benefits of smoking once. And it's just better to use wheat tea, canna bonbons, space cake, and to expand our consciousness rather than narrow it down with the cancer-causing killer alcohol that kills millions yearly, with caffeine and tobacco. But there are lots of pipe smokers also on YouTube. They also talk about the types of tobacco they use, etc. And I think it's important that it's additive free, especially chemical free, because chemicals have a synergistic effect with cancer-causing electromagnetic radiation, according to Dr. Cyril Smith. And I think that electrosensitivity and chemical sensitivity, which usually go hand in hand, has to be recognized by, I don't know if it is, I'd have to check, but it should be if it isn't recognized. Today I had a bad experience again when my father had his cancer cell phone on. I have installed an app that is an app locker, and that can be used to lock the cancer Bluetooth. I always call it because it causes cancer. Cancer Bluetooth, cancer Wi-Fi, and cancer GSM, the phone itself as well, I think. But I won't block his phone so that he can make emergency phone calls. So he had switched it into 4G mode basically. But I've switched off the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, also for his own safety. There's a reproducible study people can do at home with a microscope. I have one for which I need Windows 7 basically, a Bresser microscope with a USB ocular, so then you can see and show on YouTube what you see under the microscope, and it has pretty high magnification, not amplification. So then people can test their own blood when they know what they're doing, also disinfect. Wet wound healing is the fastest way to heal wounds with colloidal silver, and since they're blocking that, I think they are involved in reducing the global population. I can show the studies that prove that it kills Ebola. Colloidal silver kills the Ebola virus. Even HIV, a study that I've reviewed recently in my broadcasts. So they want to reduce the global population, and others want to make money, and they can do that with colloidal silver, heroin, cannabis and cocaine when it's legalized and people can produce it themselves at home for a fraction of the cost. Though that's unsafe, so people can buy it. I've listed the address where they can buy it. And these companies use clean water, so that's distilled water, or perhaps even cleaner water, and the purest silver. And they may also use patented processes, reversed polarity and things like that, to have a product that no one else has. So that's pure colloids.co.uk, and silveredge.com. So I can't advise people anything. People have to study stuff for themselves online. If they use colloidal silver internally like I do, they also have to use probiotics to replace the good bacteria in their gut killed by the colloidal silver, because your gut needs bacteria to digest food. And I talk about this because I think that it can potentially save millions of lives. So show me the scientific evidence. Like the study of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency of the DoD in relation to Ebola, for example, or the Silver Table study of pure colloids and silver edge, these two studies that I've shown in my broadcast. And then that's a good question, I think. Have they tested the effectiveness of colloidal silver when it comes to the coronavirus, COVID, and I know they have tested it in relation to Ebola. So any evidence, scientific articles that prove it either way, that colloidal silver is bad, and or studies that show that colloidal silver is more effective than prescription drugs out there and antibiotics. I've seen websites about silver. I've studied it before, of course, since I create my own. And I'm not selling anything, I'm not going to sell anything. Because I want to prevent getting any money, basically. The only thing is, if there are millionaires that would like to give a donation, then that's possible via universalpeace.jimdo.com. And I don't know if that super chat, I can't have a super chat, I think. I don't know if I would get that money somehow. But probably I have to have an AdSense account or something like that, and that takes too much time. So I'm not selling anything, I'm not getting any money, I've never had a donation. So I'm just doing it to save lives and to influence the agency also. Perhaps the only ones that are watching my broadcast, watching my every move with their 3D through-the-wall radar, their FIPA array in Poker Flat, Alaska, of course, more powerful than HARP, which according to some sources online is a fake facility. Frequency independent phased array antennas, FIPA. So parts of my broadcasts are satirical, sarcastic even, not meant to be taken too seriously. I'm not CNN, I'm not a doctor, etc. I've made it clear already. So I try to be a normal citizen with an intelligent look on what we see happening in the mainstream media and in the world to prevent a world war, prevent spreading of coronavirus, and to prevent overpaying for Al Gore's carbon tax scam. These 3 points are the 3 points that I think are important for our planet at the moment. And if there's anything more important, please let me know in the comments or Skype Prologic 999. So being prepared with a gas mask, an N95 mask that's pretty cheap, because if it also hits the Netherlands, then it will be sold out in no time, and the supermarkets will be empty just like in China. And they have BFT also in the US, Blue Force Tracking. So that means when people are home quarantined, then they are treated as enemy combatants, even if they're US citizens or European citizens, by the military, the drones, and the killer robots, the Talon robot army, also known as Project Swords. So they can't go outside, then they are killed by the drones, the military, that have blue transponders, and by the drones and Talon robot army automatically. So that's Blue Force Tracking, also covered in my previous broadcast. I'm gonna turn my mic up a little bit again. So this way it should be alright, I guess. Sometimes it's a little bit too loud perhaps, but okay. So if there's anything in violation of the YouTube user policy, let me know in the comments. I've already made clear in previous broadcasts that people should only use legitimate methods. And do legitimate things. So is there anything wrong with the idea of spreading colloidal silver flyers at airports where people from Ebola and COVID infected countries arrive? And if so, what is wrong with it? Silver is just a natural mineral that our bodies need in reality, and it's more effective than antibiotics usually. Resistance occurs to antibiotics, so then they are not effective anymore, and then they can prescribe another antibiotic, etc. But if they know that colloidal silver is more effective, then that would be a crime. You could argue. So it's first do no harm, and they'd have to compare these drugs to colloidal silver. Is what I'm thinking. The effectiveness. I don't know how many animals die every day from testing. Monkeys and rats and other rodents, etc. But I think there are also many doctors that use colloidal silver. Of course, some diseases are spread nosocomially, meaning spread in and through hospitals. So I would think that doctors are at a higher risk of catching the virus. And they should use a mask with at least an N95 filter, and they're not that expensive, I think. So I think that a surgical mask is not sufficient protection. Also without glasses. And I don't know what kind of protection they use. But I've seen a video of a nurse that thought she was infected, though she observed all the protocols or something. Don't know if I've shown it in one of my previous videos. So I've been busy with this coronavirus. And many people are, because they think it's also entertaining, because it's happening in reality. They find it more important and more interesting to waste time on than on things that are a perfect waste of time or entertainment, basically. So does anybody know the answer? How can we prevent this virus from spreading and turning into a global pandemic? Any ideas about this are welcome in the comments. Covered the population reduction quotes in previous broadcasts. I just mention it because I think it's on topic, but I'm not going into that. It would be repetitive content. Though you could argue I should repeat it in every broadcast, so that people that advocate population reduction are prosecuted and arrested, or at least replaced with people that protect and serve the taxpayers. That have paid tax money to be protected and served. The people must fear the government, and the government must fear the people. Law. Of course not. We can be like civilized beings. I think most people are good people, most people are not murderers. The military we see here can all be wonderful, great people. Perhaps they know exactly how to handle Mila Jovovich just right. If something were to happen, they'd save her. Or could it be Blackwater, now called the Academy, formerly Blackwater? What could the code, umbrella corporation, what could it stand for? Could it be code for some corporation that exists in reality? Not Microsoft Corporation. There are many corporations, I guess. Tax-exempt corporations also. No, I can't think of anything. I think perhaps the Academy. Don't know if they're a corporation as well. So perhaps it's not the WHO or the CDC. CDC. Not funny, so I get it. And some people might also want to rather die of the natural virus than of some chemical that's cancer-causing prescription drug. And some would rather die from the virus than have any chemicals in their body or ingredients that are not vegetarian. So besides the Talon robot army B-type project swords into plowshares, they also have the hybrid insect micro electromechanical systems, so even little tiny insects can be remotely controlled. What more could they possibly want? Freed from desire, mind and senses purifier. Gala. Official video. Do it yourself. I think it's impossible to be freed from desire. All you need is the air that you breathe, the nene cherry. I don't think so. So we desire food and especially water. We need water practically daily. And perhaps military also notice. The Dutch water king might know it as well, Willem-Alexander. Perhaps my broadcasts were too negative in the past. So that last Resident Evil movie, Dr. Isaacs and the board of the Umbrella Corporation then intended to release the T virus on purpose, not the C virus, in order to cleanse the world, save the rich and powerful, which cryogenics in the hive, and later rebuild it as they desire. Saving the rich, saving lives is a good thing, you could argue, yeah. So what is there to prevent these rich people from buying the military and others to carry out their evil, illegal population reduction plans? There are laws and covenants, but do you have treaties, agreements, laws, tons of laws, codified law, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is not legally binding. So there goes your right to physical integrity, privacy, and freedom of thought. Law. No, that's also in the Constitution, so you have that right anyway. So I thought perhaps the UDHR is just a distraction from the real law or whatever. Then they can say, oh, but that's not covered by the UDHR. Bye bye. Next. So, more information also on Jane Burgermeister's website. If she's controlled the position, there could also be misinformation on her website. Don't know if she's dyslexic or whatever, but overall she may have the best information, the latest data. She may be a journalist, reporter, quite famous also, and I think it's not a waste of time to visit her website and watch her video on YouTube, her latest video. And we're gonna beat this virus. We're gonna win this war on COVID 2019. Doesn't COVID 2020 sound better? Whatever, just COVID will do. I think it may be easier than 2019 nCoV. It's easier to type COVID. So probably most people will go along with that new name for the coronavirus, 2019 nCoV. Though it is weird that the word cough is in it basically. So that's why some people might not like it. So are there any medicines to prevent ARDS? That's how the virus kills. Acute respiratory dysfunction syndrome, I think. I covered it in previous broadcasts. Let's check that. ARDS. ARS. Of course I got it wrong. Good thing I looked it up. Acute respiratory distress syndrome. Or did I get it right? I don't. Never mind. I'm looking for medicine, a drug, anything that can prevent ARDS. Medications. Okay, let's read the wiki article then.
Medications. As of 2019, it is uncertain whether or not treatment with corticosteroids improves overall survival. Corticosteroids may increase the number of ventilator-free days during the first 28 days of hospitalization. 21. Inhaled nitric oxide, NO, selectively widens the lungs' arteries, which allows for more blood flow to open alveoli for gas exchange. Despite evidence of increased oxygenation status, there is no evidence that inhaled nitric oxide decreases morbidity and mortality in people with ARDS. 22. Furthermore, nitric oxide may cause kidney damage and is not recommended as therapy for ARDS regardless of severity. 23. As of 2019, there is no evidence showing that treatment with exogenous surfactant, statins, or beta blockers decreases early mortality, late all-cause mortality, duration of mechanical ventilation, or number of ventilator-free days. 21. There is no evidence that treatment with N-acetylcysteine reduces early mortality. 21.
Well, what I've used is with lung embolism, colloidal silver vaporized with a vaporizer of Omron, medical product available for asthma patients. They also use a nebulizer vaporizer. And I think the $10 thing that people can buy on eBay would also work. And then inhaling the silver water into the lungs, the iron lung, etc. Yeah. Because if that kills the virus, then that also moisturizes the lungs, and that is the way to kill it, then to kill the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus strain. I am chemically sensitive, so I wonder if they're going to start vaccinating everybody mandatorily at gunpoint, etc. If there are exceptions for people, I think people who are already treated, that are already immunized, etc., don't have to be vaccinated. Chemically sensitive people might also get an exception, because if the vaccine is effective, then they cannot contaminate anybody that's been vaccinated. However, the virus is mutating, so I claim that it cannot be effective, or the chances are that it won't be effective, basically. Also, that idea is based on the idea that there are studies that show that colloidal silver effectively kills the virus, yet they're not using that, and they've even blocked a colloidal silver shipment to Africa, is what I read. I don't know if that's true, but okay. If it is effective, then that's murder again, you could argue. So that's how I cured my respiratory problems previous times, but it's hard to say if there's a better way to prevent ARDS. So when I read the part about medications on Wikipedia, then it doesn't make me think, oh, they have a cure. ARDS, no problemo. Especially if this is airborne. What do they call it? Aerosol transmission, I think. Let's see if there's a wiki article about that then. Aerosol transmission does not exist. That's the article Airborne Viruses that I already covered as well. Viruses, not airborne, but airborne viruses. Airborne disease is the article name. First result when searching on airborne viruses, then search on aerosol. I'll read this part. It has the word aerosols in it 3 times.
Airborne diseases include any that are caused by transmission through the air. Many airborne diseases are of great medical importance. The pathogens transmitted may be any kind of microbe, and they may be spread in aerosols, dust or liquids. The aerosols might be generated from sources of infection such as the bodily secretions of an infected animal or person, or biological waste such as accumulate in lofts, caves, garbage and the like. Such infected aerosols may stay suspended in air currents long enough to travel for considerable distances. Sneezes, for example, can easily project infectious droplets the full length of a bus.
Well, I remember from a Medscape article that 27,000 times less variants are required to induce equivalent disease when dispersed in aerosol form. And I think that was on Medscape. So add Medscape to the search. Just in the search. Don't know if it's still online. It might take a while to search to find this. Perhaps somebody knows what article I mean. Okay, I found something finally. Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, citrep.umn.edu. And influenza is usually transmitted by direct contact, but aerosol transmission also occurs and requires 27,000 times fewer variants to induce equivalent disease, the article says. Well, we can read this then. This is from 2003. And another video in relation to that on hollabackseattle, dirty rain, H1N1. How chemtrails can use polymers to protect and grow virus or bacteria in clouds. Ukraine H1N1 mutation spread to Norway, lies from New York Times to downplay situation. 10 years ago.
Influenza virus seen as possible bioterrorism weapon filed under Bioterrorism, Influenza, General, Pandemic Influenza, Smallpox July 08th 2003 Share tweet linked in email print and PDF July 8, 2003, Citrap News, an influenza virus, especially one genetically manipulated for increased virulence, would be an attractive weapon for bioterrorists, according to physicians writing in the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine. As a potential biological weapon, influenza has several advantages over smallpox, including ready accessibility, write Muhammad Majid, MD, and 3 colleagues. The authors are affiliated with the University of Texas Houston Health Center and 2 heart institutes in Houston. The possibility for genetic engineering and aerosol transmission suggests an enormous potential for bioterrorism, they assert. The Spanish flu epidemic of 1918 killed between 20 million and 40 million people. The usual estimate of the annual influenza death toll in the United States is 20,000, but recent studies of all-cause mortality suggest it is closer to 90,000, the authors state. They also cite recent evidence that influenza may be a risk factor for sudden cardiac death and stroke. Since the terrorist attacks of 2001, we must consider the possibility of malicious genetic engineering to create more virulent strains of influenza, they continue. Sequencing of the genome of the 1918 Spanish influenza virus is nearly complete. Once it is published, unscrupulous scientists could presumably utilize candidate virulence sequences. Influenza is usually transmitted by direct contact, but aerosol transmission also occurs and requires 27,000 times fewer variants to induce equivalent disease, the article says. Influenza virus is far more accessible than smallpox virus, known stocks of which are held only in secure facilities in the United States and Russia, the authors note. They contend that influenza has other advantages over smallpox as a potential weapon. Since influenza occurs naturally, an epidemic would have more time to spread before triggering a major public health response. Post-exposure immunization is ineffective for influenza because of its short incubation period, 1 to 4 days, which is not the case with smallpox. Influenza is harder to eradicate because it has animal and avian reservoirs. The authors propose several steps to address the threat of influenza as a terrorist weapon, including the following. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention should classify influenza virus as a critical agent for bioterrorism. Immunization should be expanded, possibly by requiring it for all medical personnel. Laboratories that work with influenza virus should strengthen their security. Antiviral drugs should be stockpiled and vaccine-making capacity should be increased. The government should consider a gene sequencing and vaccine development program. Surveillance efforts should be increased and should include incentives for reporting of clinical cases. The fitting of ventilation systems with virus detection and inactivation devices should be considered.
So I found the original PubMed article. And there we can also read these proposals to address these issues in cbi.nlm.nih.gov, PubMed.
Even a natural epidemic of influenza can devastate our healthcare system and render society vulnerable to terrorist attacks of any kind. 13 In addition, because of the similarity between early symptoms of influenza and other bioterror agents, such as anthrax, clinicians need to understand the differences in symptoms and signs and be aware of the initial screening tests for anthrax and influenza. Since the two diseases could coexist, it is unfortunate that there are, to date, no point-of-care tests to diagnose both and thus minimize confusion and panic. We have 7 proposals to address these issues. The World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, should bring together experts in influenza, bioterrorism, health policy, international law, and ethics to study this matter. Authorities should recognize that smallpox-based lessons drawn from exercises such as Dark Winter are not all applicable to weaponized influenza. Depending on their other public health needs and resources and their likelihood of being targeted, countries might consider only some of the steps listed below, which are suggested in particular for the USA. CDC should advance influenza as a critical agent in priority as a bioterrorism threat. Physicians, nurses and their organizations, insurers, and health officials should increase efforts to immunize those for whom immunization is currently recommended. The policy might be extended to mandatory immunization of medical personnel, or even universal immunization. Increase the security of laboratories conducting influenza research, and of manufacturers and distributors of vaccines and antivirals. Stockpile antiviral drugs and increase capacity to develop and produce vaccine. These might also be added to the pushbacks for urgent distribution by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Consider a federal influenza gene sequencing and vaccine development program, based at high-security government, pharmaceutical and university laboratories. Expand active seroepidemiological surveillance and offer incentives to reporting of clinical cases. The recently developed influenza assays make serological surveillance simple and fast, yet are little used by clinicians. New syndromic surveillance systems are required, capable of detecting incipient epidemics. Consider federal programs to develop antiviral filters, biosensors, and inactivation systems, for example ultraviolet, for ventilation systems. Such efforts could be part of a broader viral protection program.
So I don't know if that was also on Medscape. This was on PubMed. This link here, PubMed Central, leads to this page. Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine. 2003 article, so perhaps they have better protocols now. Anyway, I'm happy I found it, so that's it for this broadcast. Check my channel, and I think we can all do something to lower the risk of contracting this virus, and people have several options. So I like these oils as well, these tea tree and eucalyptus may be most effective. So this has antiviral properties as well, I think. I read about it. Some people thought only antibacterial, but I think I've shown it in my previous broadcast also. So, and there are scientific documents also about etherical oils. And And honey also has antiseptic properties. Chamomile. I have the Chamomile romani. Roman chamomile. This is very expensive, but it's a very good one also. Roman chamomile. Camillen simmer. Sal de camomile. But I think this one might be even better, and that's a little bit cheaper, though it's also one of the more expensive ethereal oils by Volatile. And she is also 100% natural. And there are fake essential oils that are a little cheaper on the market. This smells a bit more honey-ish, basically. This is the wild chamomile Romanus. Chamomilla, perhaps. Romanus multicaulis. Aryan broad aromatics. So let's read this then, it's a nice page. And one of the nicest essential ethereal oils, I think.
Wild chamomile, Orminus multicaulis. Wild, Moroccan, chamomile, Orminus multicaulis, is an annual herb belonging to the Asteraceae, compositae, family. Orminus multicaulis is one of 3 varieties of chamomile used in perfumery and cosmetics. It is different from the other chamomiles in both chemical composition and scent. The aroma of the wild chamomile oil is quite a bit more penetrating and not as sweet as true chamomile. It is used throughout the fragrance industry, commonly as a top note in colognes and perfumes. Significantly different from Matricaria recutida, blue chamomile, or chamomile Roman, wild Moroccan chamomile is native to northwestern Africa. It grows abundantly in the wild in northern Morocco and has been distilled in that country since the 1970s. Wild Moroccan chamomile blossoms in the spring, forming its characteristic flowers at the ends of stems that grow to more than 1 meter in height. The entire plant is hand-harvested on concessions allotted by the government and distilled fresh. Wild Moroccan chamomile is a perennial herb with hairy leaves. The flowers resemble small daisies, with sunny yellow centers surrounded by white ligules. Most likely originally from northwest Africa, Orminus mixta has spread wild throughout the Mediterranean basin. While some claim that Moroccan chamomile is not a true chamomile, as it is steam distilled from a chamomile-like cousin perennial plant, this renegade oil responds with an incredible array of benefits for the skin as it is rich with cis terpenes and azulans. This essence, also known as ormanis, or ormanis oil, offers Herculean healing for body and soul. Ormanis is said to be good for skin problems such as acne, eczema, dermatitis, and cysts. It has also been used for rheumatism and is supportive of the gallbladder. It is also known for its calming properties, and can relax stress and tension simply by inhaling the complex aroma of this oil. Soothing, calming and relaxing. Traditionally used as a muscle relaxant and skin conditioner. Aromatherapists may recommend that you blend a couple of drops of Moroccan with lavender in a burner or vaporizer and set it going half an hour before bedtime. It's also thought to help to relieve headaches and migraines and is a useful oil to have around in times of emotional stress. It is considered to have antispasmodic, cholagogue, emmenagogue, hepatic and sedative properties. For your well-being, if you wish to relax, chill and feel even, then treat yourself to our Divine Face and Body Mist and Divine Perfume Oil, and enjoy. ArianRotaromatics.com. Twitter Puriglow on Twitter, Ormanis multicolores, chamomile or chamomile.
So it has that, excusez-moi, sunflower pattern a little bit. So yeah, that's it for now. I need some tea. Chamomile tea with green tea. Thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, share on your timeline for a better future. Do stuff for universal peace. And that's a kiss for single ladies who would like one. And what else is important? Doing healing things, so yoga, may also help breathing, sitting in a good position, things to support our immune system, healing, pure good things, 100% goodness, that's what we need. Belvoir. Ginger may also help, detoxifying properties, etc. Okay, so tune in next time on Perfect Society.